Welcome back. Today's story is not about success overnight. It is not about talent, luck, or motivation. It is about one small habit, a habit so simple that most people ignore it. And yet, it quietly changed his entire life. This is the story of the day he stopped waiting and started becoming someone new. He did not wake up rich. He did not wake up confident. He woke up tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but the kind that comes from repeating the same days with the same thoughts and the same excuses. Every morning felt familiar, too familiar. The alarm rang. He reached for his phone, scrolled, compared, delayed, promised himself he would start tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next year. And life kept moving. He noticed it one evening, not during a big failure, not during a dramatic moment, but in silence. He was sitting alone. The room was quiet. The light was dim. And for the first time in a long while, he asked himself an honest question. What exactly am I waiting for? The answer scared him because he knew it. Nothing. No perfect moment. No sudden confidence. No miracle motivation, just excuses wearing comfortable clothes. Same place, same habits, same regrets. And suddenly the truth became clear. Time was not waiting. It never had. He thought about the past, how fast the years had passed, how slow they felt while living them. That contrast scared him more than failure ever did. He realized something painful. Life does not change in big moments. It changes in small, quiet decisions, repeated, ignored, or chosen. That night, he did not create a big plan. He did not write 10 goals. He did not promise to become a new person by Monday. He chose one small habit, just one. Every day before touching his phone, before checking messages, before letting the world enter his head, he would sit for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. No music, no scrolling, no noise, just breathing, just awareness. At first it felt useless. His mind wandered, thoughts attacked, doubts whispered. You are wasting time. This won't change anything. You should be doing something productive. But he stayed, not perfectly, just consistently. The first few days changed nothing on the outside. His life looked the same. Same job, same problems, same fears. But something subtle shifted inside. He started noticing his thoughts, how negative they were, how automatic, how unkind. He noticed how often he lived in the past or worried about a future that had not arrived. Those 5 minutes became a mirror. And sometimes he did not like what he saw, but he kept going. A week passed, then 2, then a month. And something unexpected happened. He started responding instead of reacting. When stress appeared, he noticed it earlier. When anger rose, he paused. When fear whispered, he listened without obeying. The habit did not make him fearless. It made him aware. And awareness changes everything. He began making slightly better choices, not dramatic ones, small ones. Going to bed a bit earlier. Saying no when he meant no. Stopping conversations that drained him. Starting tasks he used to avoid. No motivation speeches, no sudden confidence, just quiet discipline. The habit gave him something rare. Space. Space between thought and action, space between emotion and decision, space to choose. Weeks turned into months. People around him did not notice immediately, but he did. He felt calmer, clearer, more present. He still struggled. He still failed. But he stopped hating himself for it. That alone changed his energy. The small habit became an anchor, a daily reset, a reminder that he was not powerless. He was not waiting anymore. And the most surprising part, as his mind became clearer, his words became clearer too. He found it easier to express himself, to think in English, to listen without panic, to speak without rushing. The habit was simple, but its effects spread everywhere. This was only the beginning, because one small habit does not change your life in a day. It changes the direction, and direction, given enough time, changes everything. In the next part, you will see how this habit began to reshape his identity, how small inner shifts created visible outer change, and why most people quit right before this moment. Stay with me. This story is just getting started. He did not notice the change all at once. It came like sunrise, quiet, slow, but impossible to stop. One morning he woke up earlier than usual, not because he was excited, but because his mind felt heavy again. Old thoughts returned, the same loop. You are behind. You are wasting your life. You will never catch up. He sat down. 5 minutes. No phone. No escape. This time he did not fight the thoughts. He watched them, and he realized something. His mind was not his enemy. It was just untrained. For years he had lived on autopilot, reacting, scrolling, distracting himself from discomfort. Those 5 minutes were teaching him a new skill: staying. Staying with boredom, staying with fear, staying with the truth. And that skill changed how he lived the rest of the day. He started noticing small moments, the way he rushed, the way he avoided hard tasks, the way he said later without thinking. Before, he never saw these patterns. Now he saw them clearly. And when you see a pattern clearly, it loses some of its power. One afternoon, he faced something he always avoided: a simple task, an email, a responsibility he kept delaying. Normally, he would wait for motivation. He would tell himself, "I will do it when I feel ready." But that day, he remembered the habit: 5 minutes of sitting, 5 minutes of choosing. So he did something different. He did the task immediately, not perfectly, not with confidence, just with action. It took 10 minutes. That was all. And when it was done, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Relief. Not because life was perfect, but because he proved something to himself. He could move even when he did not feel like moving. That was new. The next day he did it again. Another small task, another small win. And slowly, a new identity began forming. Not "I am lazy," not "I always fail," but I can act anyway. This was the real shift. His life was still the same on the outside, but inside he was becoming someone who keeps promises, even small promises. That is how trust is built, not with big speeches, with small repeated actions. He noticed his energy changing. He was less tired, not because life was easier, but because he was not carrying the weight of delay. Delayed tasks feel small, but they become heavy in the mind. Each unfinished thing becomes a whisper, a reminder, a burden. As he finished small things, his mind became lighter. He started walking more, not for fitness, but for quiet. He started reading a few pages, not to become smart, but to become steady. And he began practicing English differently. Before, he tried to learn fast. He wanted quick results. He wanted confidence in 1 week. Now he practiced slowly, like his habit. Small steps, daily, no pressure. He listened to English while walking. He repeated one sentence until it felt natural. He wrote short lines in a notebook. Not long paragraphs, just clear, simple lines. And it worked, because the habit taught him the real secret. Consistency beats intensity. One night, he looked back at the last month. He did not see a new life yet, but he saw something more important: a new direction. He was no longer waiting for the world to change. He was changing his daily choices. And then came the moment that tested everything. A bad day, a heavy day, a day that normally would have destroyed his progress. Someone criticized him, not kindly, not fairly. It hit his ego, it hit his confidence, and his mind wanted the old escape. Phone, scrolling, comfort, numbness. He almost did it. His hand reached for the phone, his thumb hovered. Then he stopped. He sat down. 5 minutes, breathing, watching the storm inside. The anger did not disappear. The hurt stayed, but something changed. He did not drown in it. He watched it. He let it pass. And after those 5 minutes, he made a choice. He did not quit. He did not collapse. He did not run away. He continued his day, not with perfect strength, but with control. That day, he understood the power of the habit. It was not just a routine. It was a rescue rope. It did not prevent storms. It stopped him from becoming the storm. And that is when he realized this one small habit was not only changing his schedule, it was changing his character. In the next part, you will see the turning point. The moment he stopped being someone who tries and became someone who commits. Stay with me, because this next lesson is where most people break and where his life finally began to rise. He thought commitment meant pressure, rules, discipline that feels like punishment. That belief almost stopped him, because deep inside he was afraid of failing again. Failing hurts less when you do not fully commit. If you only try halfway, you can always say, "I didn't really try." That excuse had protected him for years, but the habit was changing that. Each morning, 5 minutes. No drama, no motivation, just showing up. And slowly he began to see commitment differently. Commitment was not intensity, it was honesty. It was saying, "This matters to me," and acting like it, even on boring days. One evening he missed the habit, not by accident, by choice. He told himself, "I deserve a break today. I did enough." That night his sleep felt shallow, his mind noisy. Nothing terrible happened, but something felt off. The next morning he understood why. The habit was not about discipline. It was about alignment. When he skipped it, he felt disconnected from himself. That scared him more than effort ever did. So he made a quiet decision. No matter how small, no matter how tired, he would show up 5 minutes every day. Not because he had to, but because this was who he was becoming. The change after that was subtle, but powerful. He stopped negotiating with himself so much. Less inner arguments, less delay. When a task appeared, he asked one question. "Can I do the first small step now?" If yes, he did it. If no, he wrote it down clearly. No hiding, no pretending. That honesty brought calm. People around him noticed something too. Not success, not confidence, presence. He listened more. He reacted less. He spoke slower. Before his mind was always elsewhere. Now he was here, and that changed conversations, opportunities, respect. One day someone asked him, "How are you so consistent lately?" He almost laughed, because from the outside nothing dramatic had changed. No extreme routines, no early mornings bragged about, no loud transformation, just one quiet habit, repeated. That night he wrote something new in his notebook. "I am no longer waiting to feel ready." That sentence felt heavy, but true, because readiness had been a lie, a moving target. He realized something important. Most people do not fail because life is hard. They fail because they wait. They wait for confidence, for clarity, for the right mood. And while they wait, time moves. He stopped waiting. He started moving imperfectly, and something unexpected happened. Confidence followed action, not before. Each small promise kept made the next one easier. The habit was no longer effort. It was identity. He was becoming someone who shows up, even when bored, even when unsure, even when afraid. That is rare, and rare things change lives. In the next part, you will see how this habit affected his biggest weakness, the place where he used to give up every time. Because consistency is easy when life is calm. The real test comes when life pushes back, and it will. Stay with me. Because what happens next is where most people return to their old selves, and where he did not. By the fourth month, something inside him had shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. The habit was no longer something he had to remember. It was something his body expected, just like brushing teeth, just like breathing. And that was when the real change began. Before, his days controlled him. Now he noticed he was quietly controlling his days. He woke up with less resistance, not because life became easy, but because his mind stopped arguing with reality. He no longer asked, "Do I feel like doing this?" He asked, "Is this the habit I chose?" And then he moved. There were mornings when motivation was completely absent. No excitement, no inspiration, just silence. But the habit did not need motivation. It only needed presence. So he showed up, again and again. The strange thing was this: the more boring the habit felt, the more powerful it became, because boredom meant stability, and stability meant trust. His brain started trusting him. For years, his mind had learned a painful lesson, that promises made by him were often broken. "I'll start tomorrow. I'll be consistent this time. I won't quit again." Each broken promise trained his brain not to believe him. But now every small action was a kept promise, and trust was rebuilding, slowly, quietly, cell by cell. One evening, while sitting alone, he realized something uncomfortable. He had more time than before, not because the day was longer, but because his mind was no longer leaking energy. Less scrolling, less overthinking, less mental noise. Time had not increased. Focus had, and focus changes everything. With focus, simple tasks felt lighter. Decisions felt clearer. Even problems felt smaller. Not easier, smaller, because his mind was not exhausted before the fight began. He noticed another change too. His emotions became less extreme. Before, a small problem could ruin his entire day. A comment, a delay, a mistake. Now those same things still happened, but they no longer owned him. The habit had created space between stimulus and reaction. In that space, he could choose, and choice is freedom. People around him began to notice, but they could not name it. They said things like, "You seem calmer. You're different lately. You don't rush like before." He smiled but said nothing, because the truth was simple. Nothing magical happened. No breakthrough moment. No sudden success. Just one small habit, repeated, daily, and that repetition rewired his identity. He no longer saw himself as someone who tries. He saw himself as someone who shows up. That identity was dangerous in the best way, because once you believe you show up, you stop negotiating with excuses. He still failed sometimes, still missed days, still made mistakes. But here was the difference. He returned faster. There was no long shame spiral. No "what's the point" thinking. He simply restarted. The habit had taught him something deeper than discipline. It taught him self-forgiveness. He learned that consistency is not perfection. It is direction. As long as he returned, he was still on the path. One night, lying in bed, he thought about the version of himself from a year ago. Always tired, always planning, always waiting, waiting for confidence, waiting for clarity, waiting for the right time. That version felt far away, not because life changed, but because he changed how he met life. The habit gave him a backbone, not made of motivation, but made of routine. And routines don't care how you feel. They care that you show up. He understood now why most people never change, not because they are lazy, but because they look for transformation in feelings. Feelings are unreliable. Habits are honest. They tell you who you are by what you do, not by what you intend. And that realization stayed with him. The habit was small, almost invisible, but it touched everything. His confidence, his patience, his work, his self-respect. All changed, not suddenly but permanently. And for the first time, he trusted himself enough to build a future, not with big promises, but with small actions done again tomorrow. And the day after that. And the day after that. By the 5th month, the habit stopped feeling like effort. It felt like alignment. Things that once required willpower now happened naturally. He didn't argue with himself as much, didn't delay as long, didn't wait for the perfect mood. The habit had quietly changed the order of his life. Before, emotion came first, action came later. Now, action came first. Emotion followed, and that single reversal reshaped everything. He noticed how often people around him were tired, not physically, mentally, always overwhelmed, always behind, always saying, "I know what to do, I just can't do it." He understood them. He used to live there. The difference wasn't knowledge. Everyone knows what to do. The difference was execution without negotiation. The habit taught him this truth. Your brain will always suggest comfort. It will always offer delay. It will always protect the familiar. That is its job. But progress begins the moment you stop asking your brain for permission. So he stopped asking. He moved first. Thought later, not recklessly, intentionally. Some days were still heavy, some nights still restless. But he was no longer scared of bad days, because bad days no longer erase progress. They simply existed. He learned to separate emotion from identity. Feeling tired did not mean he was weak. Feeling stuck did not mean he was failing. They were just states, temporary. The habit grounded him when emotions tried to lie. One afternoon, he caught himself smiling for no clear reason. Not happiness, peace, a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation. He realized something important. He was no longer chasing change. He was maintaining it. That was the turning point. Chasing is exhausting. Maintaining is calm. The habit had become his anchor. When things went well, it kept him humble. When things went wrong, it kept him steady. He stopped romanticizing extremes. No more all-in days followed by burnout. No more starting over every Monday. Just steady, boring, reliable movement. And boring began to feel powerful, because boring meant sustainable. He also noticed how his self-talk changed. Before, it was harsh, critical, unforgiving. Now it was firm but kind. Do the work. Stay with it. Come back tomorrow. No drama, no insults, just direction. That voice made him stronger. He didn't need motivation videos anymore. Didn't need constant reminders. The habit had built internal leadership. He was finally someone he could rely on. And that changed how he walked into rooms, how he spoke, how he decided. People with internal trust move differently. They don't rush to prove. They don't panic to please. They don't collapse under pressure. they act. One night he wrote a single sentence in his notebook. I am no longer waiting to become someone. That sentence felt heavy, final, because waiting had ended. He understood that success was not a moment, not a breakthrough, not a finish line. It was a relationship with daily action. And like any relationship, it only worked when you showed up consistently. The habit was small, still the same, but he was not. He had built something rare, self-respect that could not be taken away, and that was worth more than any result. He fell asleep that night knowing one thing clearly. No matter what happened tomorrow, he would show up, not because it was easy, but because it was who he was now. Welcome back. If you've stayed with this story, you already feel it. This was never just about one small habit. It was about the moment a person stops living on excuses and starts living on decisions. Because the truth is simple, most people don't fail from lack of talent. They fail from waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel motivated. But life doesn't reward waiting. Life rewards movement. That's why this ending matters, not because everything became perfect, but because he became consistent, and consistency is the rarest kind of power. He still had problems, still had stress, still had days where he wanted to quit, but now quitting was no longer his default. He had trained a new response. When life became heavy, he didn't disappear. He returned to the habit. That was the difference. A small habit became his rescue rope. Not dramatic, not loud, not inspiring on Instagram, but real. And real habits change real lives. Let's summarize what happened. He didn't change by doing something huge. He changed by doing something small again and again until it became identity. He learned that discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. He learned that confidence is not a feeling. It is proof, and proof is built daily. He learned that progress is not fast. It is faithful. He also learned the most important lesson. Your future is not decided by your biggest plans. It is decided by your smallest repeated actions. That is why this story matters to you, because you don't need to copy his exact habit. You just need one habit, one small action you can do even on bad days. Something so simple you can't excuse it. Something so small it feels almost stupid, but you do it anyway. That is how change starts. So here is your step. Choose one small habit today, just one. Write one sentence. Read one page. Walk for 5 minutes. Practice one English paragraph. Clean one corner. Save $1. Do one push-up. Study one word. One small action. Then repeat it tomorrow and the next day. Do not wait for a perfect day. Do it on ordinary days, because ordinary days are your real life. If you want better English, don't chase fluency. Build daily contact with the language. Small daily practice, short, clear sentences, simple repetition. That is how your brain changes. If you want a stronger mind, don't chase motivation. Build daily proof. That is how your identity changes. This is your reminder. You are not stuck. You are just repeating the same pattern. And patterns can be replaced. One small habit, one small promise, kept daily. That is the formula. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I truly hope this story helped you not just feel inspired, but feel capable. If it gave you even one useful lesson, please support the channel. Hit the like button so YouTube knows this is valuable. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And turn on the bell, because I'm going to guide you step by step, story by story, until your English improves and your life improves with it. Write in the comments, what is the one small habit you will start today? I read every comment, and I want to see you win. See you in the next story.